Good morning, Jeff. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, dude. I mean, the evolution that you've gone through with music is, to me, this is what the story is that listeners need to understand, because we don't have that inside sleeve of an album cover anymore, and it's like this is what it's all about. How musicians become leaders inside the industry.
Well, look, this one's kind of an accident with this song. I mean, I actually wrote this with a producer I'd been put in touch with actually one of James Brown's guys that I've known for many, many years. He had this young producer and had this amazing song, and I literally demoed it up. I co-wrote it with him a little bit, demoed it up in my bedroom. I was in a transition. I was moving, so I was keeping my wife up all night doing the vocals, and then he liked the way it sounded. We didn't find the right timing for it, and then we thought now is the time we can release it, because nowadays you can evolve and change, and people are a little bit more accepting than they were back in the day.
You're so right about that, because EDM did kind of slow down a bit, didn't it, during the lockdown? But now we all want to feel good. We want to have that Roaring 20s kind of vibe, and that's exactly what Lit does.
Well, I'm glad you feel that way. That's exactly what I thought about it. I thought, look, good spring break song, good summer jam. Everybody wants to get out there. As you know, you conduct a lot of these events and host a lot of them and put a lot of them together, and the mastermind behind all that. Right now people are going out in droves to this stuff, and we feel like this song sort of it suits the kind of mood of everybody.
Does this change you in the way of Coachella and all these other festivals and stuff like that? That all of these big EDM fans are going to say, "Oh my God, listen to this song from Jeff, man! My God."
Well, it is very interesting, Arrow, because you try hard to rebrand yourself and stay relevant, and sometimes you try too hard. And in this case, I mean, this is sort of a rebranding, and the song sort of just speaks for itself. It sets a mood, it's a tone, it's a vibe, and it's a party song. And so we put it out there. The response has been overwhelming. And yes, I've been getting invited to things that 98 Degrees. Although we have a great fan base, we wouldn't normally get to go perform at, like a Coachella or one of these big governor's balls or something like that.
In your research for this song, Lit, did you see that people were hitting repeat? Because, I mean, that's the one thing that after it came to an end, I was disappointed that it was over. It was like, no, this needs to be a 15-minute song.
Oh, my gosh, man, I'm so flattered that you said that. I mean, look, we have all these different mixes. There are some longer ones. There are shorter ones. We did an EP, like sort of an EP album release on iTunes. It ended up debuting number 1 on the dance chart there. I mean, I was totally shocked, actually, to be honest with you. Not to underestimate myself, but, I mean, I certainly didn't expect the overwhelming response, and everybody wants to hear different mixes and versions, and now we have all these great DJs on it and doing remixes, and folks I never thought I'd be collaborating. It's truly been an honor for me and a blessing.
Jeff, there is a touch of the song as well that if you took away some of those beats and put in a guitar and maybe a fiddle, I bet you country music would embrace it as well, because country music has changed.
I will take it. I mean, look, you see by the Kane Browns of the world and and Jimmy Allen's and all that stuff, they're adding hip-hop beats to their stuff and loops and whatnot, and adding a little more like sort of hip-hop flavor to some of the stuff. So, I'm game for whatever. I'm just kind of taking the wave and riding the wave with it, and just thankful and lucky that, it's reacting the way it is.
Well, it is a good reaction, because I'm a mobile entertainer. I've been on that stage playing music for parties and stuff like that. The very second I heard this song, I went, oh, yes. Oh, this will ignite my audience.
I love that, man. I mean, I'm so happy to hear that. You always cross your fingers and hope that it's going to get a reaction like this. But, for people to be overwhelmingly liking it, and our fans are very picky, too. They don't like us kind of steering away from that ballad lane, And in this case, I happen to, get a good response from a number of different people that are saying, hey, it's a totally different sound, but we embrace it because it's just a fun song.
Oh, my God, you just gave me a big flashback of when Kiss did I Was Made for Loving You, because here was this rock band that went with kind of a disco beat back in the 1970s, early 80s, and it's like, wow, fans either dropped them or they embraced it.
Yeah, and Arrow, you've been around a long time. I mean, if something's hot, it's hot, and if it's not, the fans will definitely let you know that you're trying too hard or you're trying to cross into a lane that you shouldn't cross. But it ultimately is always about the song, and you know that.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing, like you said, this is for a spring break or it's for the summer and stuff like that. But let me ask you a question, because I mean, this is the time of year that a lot of people put Christmas music together, and you guys put that Christmas album together. Did you write this song in the middle of winter, or when did this song actually come to life? Because it's never in the mode when you're in the mood.
No, it definitely wasn't in the summer. It was many years ago, and it
Oh
was
my
for another
God.
artist. It was for a young artist. It was probably like 8 years ago at least. And Pompey, who's featured on the song, and I co-wrote it with and co-produced it with, he had this young artist. The guy's name was Taylor Hewitt, and they were trying to break this artist, and we were trying to write it for him, and it was dead in the winter when we were writing it. It wasn't for a summer song or a spring break, and we were just vibing out. And ultimately Pompey liked the take I did on it and the style and flavor that it has, and he didn't want to touch it. And it really just kind of sat there until the timing was right. And I really thought that after the pandemic and everything that's been going on, finally I'm like, let's just put it out there. Let's just unleash this thing and see what it does. And again, we're excited about how everybody's embraced the tune.
So was it one of those moments where you're sitting in the studio behind that big board and you just look at each other going, well, what do you think? Huh? Well, because that's a moment that people do not ever get to experience unless you're there.
Yeah, unless you're there, but that wasn't how the gestation of this song came about. I mean, literally, I heard we started swapping files and looking at each other and doing it via Zoom, kind of circa 2020 to now, like during the COVID years. But we weren't in the studio and didn't say, hey, we're on to something. We just kept trading files and then liking the vibe, and then we looked at each other at the very end and we're like, all right, when are we going to have Taylor recorded? And none of us wanted to kind of speak up and say, hey, let's not do it. And finally Pompey said, I'm not touching that song. I've been playing it for everybody. Everybody loves it the way it is. Whatever demographic you're talking about, young, old, white, black, whatever, everybody seems to love the song because it's just fun. It's not too serious. It's just about having fun.
That is so funny that you say that about the age groups and stuff like that, because one of the feelings that I got out of it was, my God, this would be a great adult top 40 song, because adults they've accepted the EDM beats as well.
Right, and look, it's got some vernacular in there, and it's got some slang. Lit is a slang word, but it's really crossed over. I mean, people talk about it all the time. I was in an event in L.A. for a charity, and the guy that was greeting us said, "Hey, man, I'm glad you're here. I mean, this place is lit." And I'm like, "Really?" I said, "I just released a song by that name like earlier today." So I was like, "Okay, it's still in vogue, I guess." So again, not trying to try too hard and keep it light. We thought it was a fun little thing that would be catchy.
Having those Motown roots, man. I mean, we're talking about an industry that has been around since, my God, the 60s, and you continue to keep that vibration moving forward. Your history in music is becoming today's new leadership role.
Oh my gosh, Errol, I'm appreciative of the fact that we were on Motown and we were heavily influenced by Motown, because a lot of people don't know that many years later. Obviously we're associated with the boy band guys, Backstreet, NSYNC, which I'm very proud to be associated with those guys. In fact, I'm doing a show with AJ and actually Trevor from Motown in Canton, Ohio on July 9th. So I'm friends with all those guys, but our roots, to go back to what you were saying, are from Motown and that history and that heritage there that we so much admired. I just try to incorporate it, as does the group, in our music, and while trying to have current sounds, we try to have those vocal stacks, those great melodies that they were so well known for. So I really I'm thankful that that's our background.
Well, it is the music business, and that means that you have to sit behind a desk sometimes. So in creating ARIA music, what was that like, and how does that generate for you right now? Because now you're on both sides of the fence.
Well, I've always wanted to do it, but look, technology has been ever evolving since we came out. We didn't have all the streaming services or the digital aspects that we have today, so the timing wasn't always right. Now I've been affiliated with some really great folks that are backing the label. I'm working with another one called Cafe Records, which has got tremendous artists and partners on that. So the timing seems to be right, where it marries my experience with modern technology, with the proper financial backing, with great artists. So finally, it's something that I've always wanted to do. I've always studied the behind the scenes and actually been more attracted to that. So I feel like I'm a teacher. If I can help any artist avoid some of the low lows that we had and just kind of focus on the high highs and circumvent any of those mistakes that we made coming up, then it's a thrill for me. And at the same time, I'm learning a lot from these young people. I'm learning about platforms like TikTok and some of these other things that are working on with like YouTube Shorts and short form content, and and the way things go viral and all that good stuff. So it's sort of a little bit of a blend of both.
I'm so addicted to Reels on Facebook and stuff like that. I mean, it's amazing how songs in a 30-second video can really just beef up your day. How does that change you as a singer as well as a songwriter?
Well, it gives you an opportunity to reach a bigger audience. I mean, some of the people that are old schoolers like myself, they say, oh, well, look, we had to do this and that, and there's no grassroots anymore. Hey, I look at it like this. If there's any opportunity and you have something out there to use as a vehicle to expose your music to a larger audience, you got to utilize it. So TikTok, Low Motif, Triller, Reels, those are all just more vehicles to cultivate a better fan base and faster. So I'm all for it.
Can you imagine if you had these tools back in the 1990s or even the new millennium? I mean, because, the tools, first of all, the internet is still, in my eyes, a very new instrument.
I absolutely agree with you. It's ever evolving, and no, to answer your questions, I don't know how I would have handled it or how our group would have been perceived. Mm-hmm. I know we would probably have had an exponentially bigger fan base, but with that, people go behind the curtain a lot more too. So I don't know how our careers would have changed if we would have done different types of music. It's really hard to say. It's kind of like when you compare, basketball legends from different eras. You kind of can't because the game's changed, right? And the athletes have changed. But the same, I think, holds true with the technology and the things that are available at artist disposal today.
Oh my God, I just had the vision of Michael Jordan and Steph Curry. You're right. You are so right about that. Love Jordan. Watched him live, but you look at Steph Curry, you're going, oh, he's the greatest of all time. You're right about that.
Well, I think so, too. Look, the history of the big men. How would Shaq hold up today? Well, everybody's shooting threes. There aren't centers anymore, right? So, I think it's the same with music. Oh, what would 98 Degrees have been if they had TikTok? Well, I don't know. We broke ground by doing a lot of grassroots, going to all the stations in person and pressing the flesh and singing a cappella. And I feel like that helped us transcend. So we're still around 25 years later because of the personal relationships we've made doing that. So I value those things, and I think a lot of those don't exist with the available technology. So I think that nowadays, I think it might be best to do a blend of both.
Dude, you got to understand that I would not have anything on iHeartRadio if it wasn't for people like yourself coming to those studios. Because, you guys would crowd into those rooms with me. We'd have this conversation, and it's like, and all of a sudden it was an attraction to the listener. But when you got on the air live, you could only do parts of it. So that's what led me to streaming, so I could have long conversations with you.
Well, I think it's brilliant that you do that. And I saw all about the podcast and the long-form stuff you're doing. I think that Joe Rogan is sort of on the forefront of that as well. Like, he's been doing the long-form content, and people want to see more than just sound bites. So I kudos to you for what you're doing. I think it's fantastic, and I appreciate the fact that you remember that kind of stuff when we would go and go on these treks for a year and a half, meeting every station in the country, secondary, tertiary markets, places in Middle America that people don't really focus on. So, and in the South, and all these really important markets that we feel like we're sort of, the breeding ground for our success. So I'm glad that you cherish that as well.
Do you remember those days though, when your music rep would take you into a station, they'd say, "Who am I going to talk to again? Who? Okay, let him come in. I'll give him a chance." Because those to me are the budding days. They don't have that on American Idol. Those guys are not doing what you guys did.
They really don't have the grassroots like that anymore, and that's when you make the first impression, because being in radio, it's a crowded market. Yep. Labels are pressing you with their new artists, their new releases, and in the masses each week, and so we thought that kind of stuff, going in person, them getting to see people like yourselves, getting to see our personalities and hear us sing live, we really feel like that made a difference in our career.
It is because like I said, I talked to you when you guys did your Christmas album and stuff like that, and it's like that's the part of the connection where we're the tool that goes out and tells people I got to tell you about Jeff, man. Jeff has got this brand new song called Lit, and you use us as a marketing tool.
Well, oh, no doubt about it. I mean, it's invaluable too. And what's very interesting nowadays is that folks, sort of when they talk about radio, they say, that they undervalue the impact that radio makes. And as a person that has seen what it has done for my career, despite the other vehicles that you have, radio still makes you official. When you're on the radio, you're still the cool. The radio dictates the cool. And until someone can show me otherwise. When Ariana Grande and Taylor Swift aren't doing anything with radio anymore, then I'll believe it. But they're certainly out there doing the shows. They're certainly out there supporting radio.
Dude, congratulations on Lit. You got to come back to this show anytime in the future. We've done this before. We'll do it again, buddy.
I love you, man. Thank you for having me on. I totally appreciate the support and continued success to you, man.
You bet. You be brilliant today, okay?
Thanks a lot, man. Likewise. I really appreciate it, man.